New Right Network presents Right Now, the featured podcast of New Right Network. Mobilizing, countering the left, energizing the right. New Right Network, home of the New Right movement.
You are watching right now on New Right Network. This show is sponsored by New Right Network Plus. Support independent conservative media by becoming a premium member at nrnplus.com. That's nrnplus.com. With me today is Liberty Austin for an Ask Me Anything interview. During the AMA, we take questions from viewers on our Telegram channel, which is a great channel, t.me/New Right Net. You can jump on there, ask questions during this whole thing, taking live questions, and I'll be asking them throughout the show. So head on over there, and then Liberty is a gun. Actually, you know what? I want her to actually tell you what she does. I don't like explaining to other people. I want her to actually say, that way everyone can hear directly from her. I don't like to repeat that stuff. So we're going to start with the Ask Me Anything. But before that, we want to do tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've been up to.
Thanks, Jason. So I'm a gun advocate. I like to use that word. I like to advocate for the use of guns in self-defense. I actually work for a company called US Law Shield, so I'm a paralegal as well. And what we do is we actually defend people who defend themselves. So I'm in that line of work. I've been in this industry for over 10 years at this point, and still going strong, still out there battling.
Sure. So
make it happen.
So self-defense is an interesting topic because we've seen a lot of private citizens and then police officers defending themselves, when they're in these situations. And what ends up happening is, the judicial system gets involved, of course, because whenever there's a shooting, there's usually some sort of a court case on either side. So are any of the cases, any of the high profile cases or ones that you're working on, or is it just any of the cases that sort of percolate and come along?
Yeah, the ones that come along. We have over 650,000 members nationwide. So any one of those, could come up to be the next one you might see on the news. For example, one of our members was Jack Wilson, the man who shot the shooter that came into the church in Dallas, the Dallas area. He was one of our members, and we defended him. A lot of people don't know this, and you're an attorney, so you probably do. Defending yourself, even in your own house, sometimes people think like, okay, you're in your own house, you're in your own right. But actually what happens is you get a murder charge if you end up killing the person. And you have to defend yourself and prove to a grand jury that you were within your right to use that level of self-defense. So a lot of people don't know that. You have a lot of people who go out there and, there's over 8 million, I believe, new gun users in America since COVID started, right? You have a lot of people that have never been around guns, and now they've purchased their first gun. And what now, right? What's next? So they go down the list, they buy a medical kit, a trauma kit, and they never think, hey, if I actually use my firearm, there's going to be some negative consequences to that. So
yeah, and a lot of people don't have a lot of training, I think. So in the case of Jack Wilson, fantastic guy, great guy, and he was able to actually, save a lot of people's lives by defending everyone in the church because he was an expert shooter, really, and he had a lot of training. So actually tell us a little bit more about Jack Wilson's case, because I don't think that really many people knew how that case sort of ended. Do you know sort of what the resolution was for that? I mean, did he ever have to go to court, or where was he at on that?
Yes, absolutely. He did have to go to court. One of our attorneys represented him, is still representing him. And I don't want to misquote anything here because I don't know the exact final solution there, but
Paraphrase.
I know that. Yeah. So what happened essentially is that we were able convince the jury that, hey, this was self-defense incident, and that was that. But he did actually have to go to court, and he did have to prove himself. So our attorneys did a wonderful job of defending him and just, painting the correct story of how it happened. So he did save countless lives.
Yeah. So in the instance, so Jack, technically, if you want to like break it apart, he committed a murder by taking the life by his act of self-defense, right? And then when he was in court, he said, look, this is a self-defense case. This is my defense of the murder charge. And, so that's it's two completely separate things, like you actually explained really, really well. A lot of people don't realize that even when you're in your own house with the castle doctrine and you're defending your house, it's not as clear cut as just, oh, I shot them and I'm good to go. I mean, there is definitely a follow-up court case. Is there a fee that you guys charge members for your for the organization with 650,000 members? Are they paying fees, or is it free to join, or how does that work?
It's a membership program. You pay $10.95 a month, which is nothing. Netflix costs more these days. There's no reason every gun-holding American should have this program, because I've heard from our upper management people where even the high corporate people in our office, the executives, have gone and actually fed the dogs of our members who were in jail, have gone to great lengths to defend these people. And you sign up, you can pay yearly, you can pay monthly. But again, it's just, if you have a firearm and you don't have this program, get with it. Go get it, because you're going to need it, because as an attorney how expensive it would be to hire you per hour.
Yeah, well, so $11 a month is, what does that come out to? About $134 a year. I mean, for $134, you pretty much maybe can have half an hour of an attorney's time or something like that. So,
exactly,
it's a good deal. And the reality is, especially if you're in a situation where you think you're going to really be using self-defense, if you're, maybe not in a great neighborhood, or you're moving money around or something from a bank or anything like that, a security guard, any one of these jobs. That's really interesting. Yeah, it's actually a very good deal. And it is about the same price as Netflix, right?
Yeah, I think Netflix is more.
Netflix is definitely more. All right, so we have some questions that came in. Let me read them off here. Let's see. Does a murder charge happen in every state when defending oneself at home? Does a murder charge happen? I mean, it depends on do you want to answer this one, or do you want me to answer it?
Well, you're the lawyer.
No, I know.
Basically, I would imagine it would vary state by state, right?
Yeah, it varies state by state. And the murder charges, it depends on the prosecutor if they want to charge someone or not. They don't have to charge you. I think that's kind of the gist of it. And then, but if they did charge you and you're using self-defense, then it's, you have to just prove self-defense, right, in court. So like we were just discussing. So, all right. And then Linda asks, of which new self-defense laws should the public be aware? Okay. Are there any new developments, I guess, in the self-defense laws?
Well, again, that would be a state by state kind of thing. But one that was really shocking to me, so that Linda could be aware of too, is that I didn't realize up until very recently, and I worked at U.S. Law Shield for 3 years, and I've attended lots of the seminars. You cannot actually drive into the parking lot of the post office with your firearm, even if you leave it in your car. That's illegal. And if you were to have a self-defense incident in the parking lot, you would go to jail. And I believe we do have a member actually that did have to defend himself in the parking lot of a post office. But that's one that's kind of makes you think, all right, well, am I accidentally doing this and I don't know? That people should be aware of.
Yeah, federal property. There's definitely some questions there, and it's like bringing a gun into the White House or something like that, one of these federal properties. But most people wouldn't know about the post office because you think that's just sort of a regular part of your routine during the day.
And you're running errands.
Yeah. So that makes sense. Yeah. So be careful with that stuff, and and I think this. So let's just say in a situation where, let's say you could have a gun at the post office, inside of it, or wherever on the post office property, if they had it so you could leave it in your car and then go in, that's not even a great law, in my opinion. I don't know what do you think about that? If you had to leave the gun in the car, because then what if someone steals it, breaks into your car, right?
Absolutely. Gun theft is like the number one way that criminals are getting guns these days. So I hate to leave my gun in the car at any time. I believe I just saw today, Arkansas, they actually just passed a law where you are able to carry it in the school parking lot. So I just read about that earlier today, but there's some states where you actually can't even take it into the school parking lot.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, you should be able to take it into school parking lot, especially if you are a good guy with a gun or a good girl with a gun, right? You want to be there to defend when needed, as we saw recently in the supermarket there in Colorado, right? So what can people? Ryan asks, what can people do to support Second Amendment causes in their local areas? In the local level.
In their local areas. Well, I know like there's hearings going on in Texas today where, you can go down and fight for legislation to be passed or for your laws to be protected. I guess just stay informed, get onto news like News Right Network, whatever, who are actually posting that these things are actually happening, where you can join that. But locally, gosh, I wouldn't know except for going to the range and keep supporting firearms.
Yeah. I mean, and also I think definitely your state representatives or your state delegates, whatever they're called in your different state, talking to those, if you keep on bringing up a topic with these folks on the local level, it's going to really, this is like what the media does, right? They have a talking point and they keep pushing it, like COVID. They keep pushing COVID, and then that's all everyone talks about. So it's the same thing goes for, firearms or something like that. If you talk to these folks about it all the time, it's going to be on the front of their brain, right? They're going to be thinking about it every single day, and then maybe they'll be tempted to pass some legislation to actually, I don't know, protect our rights. Crazy to think, right? So
right. We would hope so.
You would hope that our representatives would represent us. It's
Absolutely.
it's completely ludicrous. Yeah, they don't represent us a lot of the time because they're too busy taking corporate PAC money and corporate interest money, and they want nothing to do with helping the actual individual. So,
and man, I'm afraid of gun-free zones. I hate to even be around them. I try to avoid them at all. And I'm in Texas, so that's a little bit less frequent. But with the grocery store thing, with just different places that try to ban firearms, I can't.
Yeah, it's dangerous. I mean, because you're banning the good people that can actually defend the other people that don't have firearms on them, possibly from the bad folks. So yeah, the gun-free
I don't do
zones.
movie theaters where I can't carry a gun, and those are very rare to find anime.
And you should be able to have a gun at a movie theater. I don't see why not. I mean, you're just sitting. There's
one thing I've really learned to look for now, now that I'm a part of U.S. Special, it's like I really go and look at the signs that they post at the front, if they're legal, if they actually look legit, because if they're not posted correctly, then it's not, valid. Now, you still don't want to go and test that, but you definitely, in the movie theaters that I've gone to that I had before COVID started, were definitely posting them correctly. So it was like, it's probably not. It's what you have Amazon for, and
Netflix. They have. Yes, exactly. Yeah, Amazon, Netflix, definitely. Or whatever streaming service you want to use.
Whatever streaming service, yeah.
Definitely
those aren't the best either, but.
Yeah, I know. Well, a lot of the content's pretty repetitive, so they need more like pro Second Amendment type movies. We need to have like a conservative group of actors and movie people and directors and all that come together and do some amazing Second Amendment type movies. So we need more of that. We don't have enough of that, but that's my opinion.
We definitely don't.
Right. So, I mean, you can even just do an action movie, and you got to have Arnold Schwarzenegger, I think. And I think you have to have Bruce Willis. I feel like you need all these guys in there. I don't know. That's just me talking.
With John Wick, I really don't think that they thought the Second Amendment community was going to adopt that the way that we did, because we just give us more John Wick. And I don't think that they really understood what that was going to do.
John Wick, fantastic movie. Obviously, it's a little, it's exaggerated.
It doesn't even have a storyline, but gun people are just like that gun, that gun, that gun. The Benelli, all the different. It's just a gun lovers kind of movie, gun lovers porn.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, we need more movies like that, or what was the other one? Anyway, moving on. So Swamp asks, are there any court cases or legislative activity that you think will be big wins for the Second Amendment coming up? That's an interesting question. I don't know.
That is an interesting question. And I cannot think of anything that is coming our way.
Unfortunately.
Especially not, I mean, after, this incident with the Colorado shooting and, the Democrats now they're going to move to make some really serious gun legislation passed. So I don't see any good things coming.
Yeah, it's unfortunate in a place like Colorado too, if it's just, we're talking on the state level, because there's a lot of rural area, a lot of farmers, ranchers, this sort of thing. They need to have these weapons and to defend their livestock, right? I mean, that's a lot of the rural areas for that, among other things. But and it's their right, really, it's their Second Amendment right. So yeah, we'll see about the court cases that are coming up. You can't predict how the judges are going to rule, right? I mean, we've seen that with the Supreme Court justices with the election fraud, but that's a different topic. We won't talk about that. A little disappointing, but hey, what are you going to do, right? I mean, we can only try and get good justices, but so Ryan asked, what do you think of Biden saying assault rifles need to be banned?
Biden doesn't know what he's talking about, first of all. Assault. I mean, we all hate that. All of us gun people, we hate the term assault rifle. That's not even a thing. But I really don't see how that is going to solve anything. And a lot of them were saying as well that, if the NRA hadn't blocked some legislation from passing, this wouldn't have happened. But that was 10 days ago. Like, I don't understand how the logic works of the time that they believe that this is going to take place. Do they believe that criminals are just going to hand over their guns? I mean, peacefully, we're just all going to go stand in line, law-abiding, and criminals just drop our gun there. I don't understand how that see that coming.
See, that's the thing. And you can't define assault rifle really, right? Like, what is an assault rifle? And then they try and say like, oh, semi-auto. They try and use all the buzzwords, like just like this fancy dance around, right? And they don't really know what they're talking about at all. And to be completely honest with you, I think that it's unconstitutional. I mean, it's vague too. The language is extremely vague, and how can vague language be constitutional? It's not, because then how can you enforce something that's so vague, right? If you say like, this is definitely the best example of anything, assault rifle. It's an action plus rifle. So yeah, I think Biden is just a puppet, in my opinion. He's just kind of reading off a teleprompter, and he doesn't know what's going on. I mean, you see him. What do you think about that?
I mean, I'm along the lines of thinking that they want to disarm us for a reason, and that's a different conversation as well. But I do believe that they do want to disarm us and to put us into a position where we can't defend ourselves for a reason. So that's why they're moving forward with this, because they know they can't stop these things from happening.
No, I mean, you can't stop these bad people are going to, throw their own lives away just to make everyone suffer, right? You have suicide bombers and all this stuff. Like, it's going to happen. It's impossible to stop every single thing, every single event that happens. And, it's tragic, but, you gotta ask yourself, what's the root cause of these problems? Like the Colorado shooter we just saw from Syria, we don't know yet, but what was the root cause, right? I mean, that's a fair question to ask. Why was this person going in and shooting everybody? I mean,
right.
He didn't just wake up one day and figure it was a good idea. This is a longer term issue, I would think. I mean, so I don't know.
It was so bizarre, just so out of nowhere. I mean, they usually are, but this one just seemed more just strange to me.
Seemed random, very
random. We'll see what they're going to discover, but I would like to see what planning went into it, because it just feels like it was so spontaneous.
It seems so spontaneous, but there must have been planning for something like that. I mean, it didn't seem right. So we'll find out more about that later. But anyway, getting back, Obi asks, is Biden's threat of an executive order on gun control hollow? Okay, is it a hollow threat? Well, what do you think about Biden and his hollow threats? I think he has a lot of hollow threats personally, but that's just me.
He does have a lot of hollow threats, but because we have seen our attorneys having to fight more and more these regulations passing in the states, you know, the way we look at it is we need a whole lot more people to get signed up with Law Shield, just because we're thinking it's coming. You know, it starts with a red flag law, it goes to something else, and all of a sudden you and something's passed, and the next day you committed a crime because you have certain kinds of rifles in your gun safe. So it's going to happen so quickly, so suddenly, and unfortunately, we do feel like it's going to come at us quickly. Hollow to some extent, but
yeah, I think they're going to try and push through these executive orders, and then hopefully no one will challenge them in court, which obviously that's not going to happen. They'll be challenged in court. Someone needs to have standing and everything to challenge them. But the question is, does Law Shield, how much does Law Shield cover? Is it just strictly the self-defense claims, or is it anything that has to do with gun confiscation? Is that part of the package?
U.S. Law Shield does cover red flag laws as well. So if you are, that's one of the things that we do fight for. And I think that's really important, because the temperature of where this country is going, it's going to be really starting to affect Americans where it wouldn't have affected you before. And they're seeing it come up, and I hear a lot of our attorneys talking about, you know, it depends on the judges in the state, but a lot of them are very anti-gun, and they want to set examples or make examples of law-abiding citizens who do have to defend themselves. So it's getting worse out there for sure.
Yeah, it is getting crazy out there. And then we have another question from Swamp. Everyone's using nicknames apparently to hide their true identities. Do you think that if Congress acts on Biden's request, that it will pass and the court will uphold? So I don't know. I don't know what the question is. Biden's request that it will pass. That must be the executive orders. I guess we already covered that. All right, let's move past it. Vic asks, could a governor or in a state legislature rule to not abide by a constitutional law, like sanctuary counties for guns?
And I've heard of a lot of governors doing that lately, trying to set up that sanctuary for guns, and hopefully they can get that passed before everything up in Congress gets harder on them to do so. But I do believe there's going to be a fight in certain states for sure. Texas is one, Florida is another one, who aren't going to stand for it.
Yeah, so in Virginia, actually, so they started passing around a Second Amendment sanctuary county resolution. It's not legally binding, but they were passing it around to all the different counties. And I think it was something like 100 or so of the counties in Virginia actually signed it. And the sheriffs were basically saying, like, we're not going to enforce any of these gun confiscation laws or any of this crazy nonsense. And I think some of the other states started doing it also, but it's not a legally binding thing. Right. But it's to show that, look, you know, you can push these unconstitutional laws on us, but we're not going to enforce them. So there's really no point. So, yeah.
It comes down to the people, because it's like during COVID with the people who were forced to shut down, and the couple that, like the hairdresser and these other with the gym that, said we refuse to comply. So the majority of people, I feel like, comply just because they don't want to go through the mess of having to fight that, or maybe they understand that the means to fight that would be too heavy on them, that they don't want to go that route. So, I mean, I think the government just tries to dissuade the majority and then fights the little outliers, the couple that actually do stand up.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the legal costs are so expensive. If you don't have any form of insurance like Legal Shield here, then you definitely are looking at thousands of dollars in legal fees just to preserve your rights. Stand right.
Yeah.
So it's really crazy, honest. I mean, you think for 134 some odd dollars a year, after 10 years, you spend about $1,000. Well, in 10 years, do you think you're going to get into a situation where, you're going to have a Second Amendment issue? Possibly, right? If you cross a state line and there's no interstate reciprocity, there's a problem with that. Right.
Exactly. And there's lots of situations like that. There's legal seminars that are provided to the members, who you can just educate yourself on what your rights are. There are certain things that I didn't know when I first started, which is like, I don't have to consent to a search. And some people just automatically assume the cops are saying, I'm going to search your vehicle, that is what you're supposed to do, but that's not actually how that works. So education really goes a long way in fighting the Second Amendment.
Yeah, the seminars are great to listen to, especially because state to state, you got all these states, they all have different laws on the books, right? And they should have different laws, right? The states should be the ones making the laws, not really the federal level. I think that there should be barely any federal laws, in my opinion. But so it's confusing. You live in an area where there's a lot of little tiny states, like the Northeast, for example. You can be in and out of a state in 2 minutes and not even know it, right? And you cut through the corner of a state by accident. So yeah, there's a lot of issues there. So Vic, a lot of issues, and then you guys got to do your homework. So Vic asked, could a governor and a state legislature rule to not abide by a unconstitutional law? I think we already went over that. There's just another one. Vic asks, do individual state laws override federal laws that conflict with constitutional rights? Do state laws override federal laws? Do you want to answer that, or should you want me to answer it?
You can, you take that one. Okay. That's the harder one.
Yeah, so state laws basically do not override federal laws in every instance, right? If there's a conflict, the federal law trumps. It's a supremacy clause issue. So it's a problem because you have the federal government passing these laws that are ridiculous, and then you have the state passing a law that's more generous. But if the federal government says you have to do things one way, it's like, think of it like the boss. Federal government is the boss, and then the states are the 50 employees of the boss. I don't know. That's one way to look at it. So it's not exciting to think of it like that, because the federal government is screwed up and passes unconstitutional laws and everything all the time, and they're such a mess. They don't know what they're doing, but that's how it is. All right. So then Ryan asked, what do you think of the NRA moving to Texas versus it's in Virginia now?
Yeah, I was happy about that. I think that's a good move for them. It's about time. I think that this is the place you definitely want to be to protect the Second Amendment. Yeah,
and I think that Texas is a better fit also. I'm biased because the NRA is 20 minutes away from me and down the street in Virginia, but I think it's better that they're with more, how do I say this, less Washington D.C. people. Okay, is that a good? So they have to get away from the Washington D.C. people and into the general population of the United States, right? Is that that's a fair assessment?
Yes, right? They fit in a lot better in Texas for sure than they would anywhere else.
Yes, exactly. Great people, by the way. I've met a lot of them. So let's see. Thierry asks, what are your favorite gun types and brands, and why? So what do you like for guns?
So I carry, my everyday carry is a Glock 43, and I carry that gun because it's convenient, it's small, it's compact. My favorite guns, however, are 1911, and I started off with 1911s, but because they're bulky, I did move over to a Glock. And my favorite brand would probably be Staccato for 1911s, Colt. I love Colts 1911s. So that's for pistols. Talking about shotguns, I like Benelli, Beretta. I have a lot of different favorites. I'm a gun snob, so I like the nice brands.
Sure, yeah. I mean, well, they're the more you pay for a gun, in my opinion, the better quality it is, right? The better quality the parts are and everything, and all that. So not always, and then it's lighter and all that stuff. But yeah, guns are interesting because they all basically do the exact same thing. They just do it a little bit differently, I guess. That's the way I look at it. So I like the 1911 though. 1911 is good. It's like a good looking gun. I don't know, it just looks good, right?
And then in Texas, it's like the Texas Ranger thing. It's just history there.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, I know, those are great. So then Ryan asks, what can be done about these mass shootings? Go ahead.
Well,
it's hard.
if the only solutions that I can think of is education at a younger age, I think that, the more people that are armed and educated, the less that we're going to have that situation, because those situations will be diffused by legal gun owners like Jack Smith. If somebody was carrying in, and I know a police officer was shot, but people that are more prepared with situational awareness and more comfortable around firearms, I think is a big part of the solution.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, if you take someone that doesn't have any experience with any firearms whatsoever, it's tough because you hand them a firearm and it's like they don't even know what to do. They're just like, they hold it in their hand, like, what is this? I don't know, like, this is what this alien device is. So I think that's a problem. And then they just mishandle
and then
them.
it gets, maybe the mentality is power, or there's something else attached to it rather than the use of it, which is protection. So I guess misconceptions occur when there's no education of what the firearm actually is for and what it does. And
there's no respect. There's no respect, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially if you teach them from a younger age, children. I think it should be part of our education.
Yeah, I agree. They should have like this. They don't do this anymore. Even when we were in school, they don't have like a class with like basic life skills. They just need a life skills class or whatever you want to call it, where it's like how to use a gun, how to write a check, how to do
mail a letter.
How do you dial a rotary telephone? What's going? Yeah, okay.
Send a fax.
Send a fax at a fax machine. A lot of these kids.
Funny because I actually used to. I was an office manager at a law firm before, and before I did this, and it was funny because, and I'm not saying anything against the lawyers, but they get all this education and they come out of law school. I don't know how to use the fax machine, and that was kind of funny to me because I was like, wow, like I didn't know how to use the fax machine. Okay.
Yeah, well, why do you think there's office assistants and legal assistants? I mean, there's such a need for these people because they're more skilled than the lawyers are, obviously.
Well,
right?
Obviously, yes. Lawyers are good at what they're good at. I'm not taking that away, but I was always like,
yeah, it is really interesting to
the
see.
ones like right out of law school, like 25 years old. It was like, wow, that's so cute. Doesn't know how to mail a letter.
Yeah, a lot of lawyers are not exactly business people. Let's just put it that way. So, yeah. And then so Obi asks, will the Senate pass any new gun laws? And Crystal Ball says, I don't know. It's 50-50, right? In the Senate right now. So maybe, right?
It could be.
You never know. Never know. Obi, we don't know. Sorry, man. Swamp asks, do you have to prove self-defense, or does the prosecutor have to prove the murder? I think we already went over that earlier. I'll just say it real quick. So you have to show self-defense, and then the prosecutor has to prove the murder case, beyond a reasonable doubt. But then you can prove self-defense. That's your defense. It's your affirmative defense. And then the jury has to weigh that all in. They go to deliberate, and they could say, no, the self-defense is not valid, and we're just going to ignore it. And it was actually a murder. Now that would be a very bad situation, which is why you need the shield. I'm going to call it the shield. How does that sound? It's just like the shield,
The shield, yeah.
Got a punch, right? Yeah, because really it is a good idea to have the insurance. It's just so cheap. I mean, only $10, $12 a month. And then also Democrats have the majority in Congress, but do they have the actual votes to pass any new legislation? And do we think that challenges to the legislation will be upheld in the courts? We already kind of went over that, right? Who knows, right? Crystal ball
exactly
stuff.
I think we'll find out here soon enough, though.
Yeah, and you got to remember, Democrats and Republicans are all own firearms, right? Everybody, a lot of people own firearms. They might not vocally say they do, but a lot of these news people you see on MSNBC and CNN, they own firearms. They won't say it, but they have firearms. Okay. And so that's kind of an interesting thing, but they pretend like they're like these foreign objects that are just, out there to get
scary. They're scary. Yeah.
Very scary. They're only scary if you don't know how to use them. Am I right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like it's second nature to me. And that's one thing that I teach, my little ones is from an early age, they learned. And you know what? It takes away their curiosity almost. It's like they know what it is, so they have no interest in it.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, a good example of that is overseas. They have like the drinking age there's no real drinking age. Like I guess France, they have wine when they're, young. That way the parents can show that like, it's really not
that big of a deal.
Not a big deal. You can just have the wine, whatever, not a big deal. And then they don't go crazy with that stuff. Like when they get to college or, whatever it is. So yeah, it's the same thing with guns really. So Linda asks, how did you get interested in this line of work?
So for me, it started with hunting. I got into hunting several years ago before women in hunting was really a thing. It was just something that gave me a lot of like peace and stress relief, and I enjoyed being outside. And so I didn't get a self-defense firearm for like a year after I started hunting, because I really didn't even begin to explore that. But it just became second nature for me after that, to just live that lifestyle, where to now unless I am going somewhere where I can't take my firearm, I have it with me every day. I'm a concealed carry license holder, and it's a part of my everyday life now. Actually can't picture my life any other way.
It's good. No, I mean, that makes sense. I think once you get it starts off as a hobby or something, or you get one gun and you're like, oh, one gun, and you're like, maybe I'll just get two, and then you got 3, 4, 5, and then you're like, okay, I need a bigger caliber, we need longer range.
Yes, now I need one of each of every brand.
Yeah, and the ammo, very critical aspect of that right now, because the ammo is starting to become an issue. For some people, I've never had an issue getting ammo, but I guess other people have. So what else
I prefer like to shoes or handbags. I prefer guns. So my husband knows, like for birthdays, anniversaries, that's what he does for me, because I have no interest in spending $1,000 on a handbag, because that's like a really nice gun. So
you got yourself a keeper there. Yeah, you gotta hang on to him, and then also the guns and the handbag. Yeah, $1,000 handbag. You can get
who needs that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you can get a nice handgun bag for $30 or something, and then $1,000 handgun to put in the bag. I feel like that's a better.
I can get a Desert Eagle for like $1,000,
Yeah, I mean, it's a good deal. Which is a great gun, by the way. It's just a very large firearm, so you can't really carry
well, at this point, when you have as many like as we do, it's like that they just become a novelty. You just kind of want to have every kind. So
would you ever own a chrome plated or a gold plated gun, or is that too Saddam Hussein?
I want a gold Desert Eagle, like the one with the zebra print on it. That's the one I want next.
Good choice.
If you're gonna get a Desert Eagle, you might as well get it gold. So I'm saying.
I think that's right. Actually, to be honest with you, I think that's the only way you can do a Desert Eagle.
Yeah.
Nowadays. Okay. So what else didn't we cover? I feel like we covered all the good topics. Is there anything else? I mean, I think that's it, right? I mean, we've run through a lot of the questions. I tried to skip over some of the duplicates. There was a bunch in there, really good questions. I think that just having a good insurance policy is a sensible thing to do. $10 a month, $12 a month. I mean, Netflix
it's a
subscription.
No-brainer. Definitely, you need it, and you need to get educated and just learn. I mean, we have books that we sell per state, and honestly, like, it's just, as a gun owner, I can't imagine people that don't have this, because I see how it destroys people's lives who don't have it. I mean, you're talking $100,000 at minimum for a case.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Yeah, it's thousands and thousands of dollars. So where can everyone find you if they're looking to add you on social media?
So Liberty Austin with an E. It's Liberty on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. So
all that good stuff. Which platform do you prefer out of all those platforms?
So my daily is I go to Twitter first, and I like to read the news from Twitter. Like, I want to see, because I feel like there's so much fake news out there that I have to go to directly to the people citizen reporters are talking about, because they're actually telling me what's really going on. So that's my go-to. Yeah,
good call. And there are a lot of good citizen journalists out there. I'm actually with a few right now. You don't see them, but they're here in the background. Some aces, some real good ones. And I prefer Twitter too. But are you going to use Donald Trump's new platform? I got to ask. He's going to be launching a new platform.
Yeah, I heard that. I definitely would.
Excellent. I think it'll be good. So if we can sort of have less of the trolls and the people, the bad people and the useless people commenting.
It's so sad what happened at Parler. That was ridiculous.
Then they're not reviving it. I guess they couldn't get new servers or something. I don't understand. They invested all that time, money, and they built a base. So I don't know what's going on. Maybe we'll see. Maybe it'll be a Parler redo. Maybe they will integrate it into the new Trump platform. That's a good question. They might do it. They might do it. Hopefully. We will find out. Okay, and then you can find us at newrightnetwork.com and become a premium subscriber at nrnplus.com. Get our latest updates on Telegram at New Right Net, and follow us on all other platforms at New Right Network. That is my scripted closeout. Thank you so much, Liberty. You are fantastic. The shield. Everyone's got to get the shield. Thank you guys for U.S. Law Shield. I call it the shield.
I like it. I love it.
And so I will leave it at that. And thank you all for joining today. And we will see you on the next Ask Me Anything.
You've been listening to New Right Network, mobilizing, countering, energizing. Online at newrightnetwork.com.